So I nearly lost $10,000 today. Um, I came close to spending what I thought was gonna be a guaranteed thing to help me get ahead. You see, I'm trying to start a YouTube channel, and I've done everything wrong so far, but I can hopefully learn from that. But what I did fall for is as soon as you start looking on YouTube at how to make a successful business on YouTube, you get inundated with endless amounts of people offering you often good advice on how to be successful. In fact, I think there's more people making money, telling people how to make money on YouTube than probably any other category, or at least it appears that way. And I won't tell you this YouTuber's name, but he is very successful and he does give good advice. And I've been following him for probably a few weeks now, and I finally agreed to an interview to see if I'd be accepted onto his program. And there's a red flag right there. They they create this idea of scarcity where I I may not be suitable for this program, or I may not meet the criteria, or there are limited spaces. So the call was coming from America because it's a very successful US YouTuber, and he's not just a YouTuber; he actually helped creator, I suppose you could say. He helps people create successful YouTube channels. Anyway, so I finally agreed to this call, and it's at 6 in the morning. So I get up at 6 in the morning, and assume it's going to be from America, especially with the time difference. I thought, oh, it's probably from America. And the first thing is the guy wasn't American. That's okay. There's lots of people who don't sound or seem American when you talk to them. Um, but one thing that gave that really didn't sit well with me. This guy was he was like emotionless. It was like he was reading from a script, and he had such dead eyes, and he'd ask these questions like, what makes you think, you are suitable for us? And you give your answer, and you get a flat response, and he moves on to the next question. Um, Everything was going fine. And then it sounds like, he's saying to me, listen, we'll get you monetized in no time. We have like a 90% success rate. And of course, he points out people on YouTube who work with, who they've worked with, and they've been really successful. So it's sounding like a real guaranteed thing. And you know what? Maybe it is. Maybe I missed out on something. But after about 45 minutes talking, he says to me, right, well, before I can go any further, let's get the payment out of the way. And I was like, what? Payment? This was a touch base thing to see if we could work together and suitable. But he said, no, no, he didn't really have an answer. He just says, no, before we go any further, before our experts can work with you, we need to make a payment. And it was 6,000 US dollars, which is about 10,000 Australian. And straight away I'm like, there's no bloody way I'm going to pay that. But I didn't tell him that. And I got really suspicious because one, he was reading from a script. Two, I could tell he didn't give a damn. And three, um, I wanted to see where he was from because I started to get a suspicion I wasn't speaking to someone in America. So what I did was I said to him, that payment's quite a lot of money for me right now, and with Christmas approaching, I don't have that sort of money. Can we, maybe pay after Christmas? And then he said the line, which was a classic salesman. He says, "Well, isn't isn't this more reason for you to start your success now?" And that line just made me cringe, and I was just like, no. no, this isn't real. And then when I sort of said that, I'm actually not happy to spend that sort of money, even a partial payment, he instantly just went dead, and he said to me, "Oh well, we'll keep. I'll touch base with you after Christmas then." And he sent me a number, and the international code was +389, and I looked it up on ChatGPT, and that was from North Macedonia. And thanks to ChatGPT, my friend, this is a common tactic that even successful companies sometimes use. So it doesn't mean the person selling this product is a con, but they outsource the selling to people who probably get a commission. So they're not really so worried about actually helping you or giving you proper answers to your questions. They just want to make the sale. So on that note, I was just like, listen, mate, I'm not interested. Thanks for your time. And that was the end of it. So, yeah, 10,000. You may think, how on earth could I have been so gullible to nearly fall for that? Don't know if it's desperation, fear of missing out. You see other people succeeding. And deep down inside, a part of me is like, I've spent 30 years helping others as a nurse, and I haven't really helped myself that much. I've 20 years married, and my ex now was going to get everything. Everything. Don't know when I'll see my kids again. They're on the other side of the world, by the way. So I am starting over, and when you're starting life over again at 50, I suppose you get a bit desperate, and that's what happened to me. I got desperate, but not completely desperate enough to throw common sense out the window. I'm not going to throw 10 grand at a complete stranger on a freaking dream. And I will admit, maybe I really missed the golden ticket. Maybe I made a mistake. But I'll plot away myself at this YouTube thing, see if I get any followers. I wrote a summary here of warning signs to watch out for. One, the idea of being exclusivity, like you are going to be accepted onto this program, you're special, not everyone gets to be on board, which is probably false. Two, there's limited spaces. Three, there's also a time constraint. It's interesting. It's one thing I forgot. I said to him, "Oh, what if I take a bit longer than average to learn how to do this? What if I take a year to get my YouTube up and running and monetize?" He goes, "Oh no, it's a 6-month program." I said, "Oh, so I spend 10 grand and I've only got 6 months, but what about support after that?" "Oh, if after 6 months you give a positive review, you you get to use some of the resources on their platform." And that felt like a bit like bullshit to me, really. So yeah, so that was my close call. Maybe not so close, because I was just thinking, no, I can't afford 10 grand. That's a lot of money. So yeah, so that was my experience on how I nearly lost 10 grand. Oh, a couple other points. If they're reading from a script, and he was, and it sounds like they don't really give a damn, and when the sellers are outsourced, yeah, all red flags to watch out for. So anyhow, that was my experience. Maybe someone can learn from this. Maybe someone can not make the mistake I made, nearly a $10,000 mistake.